Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Keep It Real with Testa and Neal. I'm Shea Neal, alongside with me, Parker Testa. It was fun to do the show live in studio yesterday, but you're still going to have to wait a few more weeks before we can do, daily stuff. But it was a lot of fun, but hey, we'll still have a lot of fun today. But a lot of show to get into today. It's still trade deadline week in the MLB, so I wanted to go through and talk about what we think, or what each MLB team should do at the deadline. If they're a buyer, who should they buy? If they're a seller, who should they get rid of? Who should they hang on to? And if they're in between, we'll help them decide. So I'm excited to get into that. Oklahoma and Texas are on their way to the SEC. It's only a matter of time. We'll get into that. Aaron Rodgers. We might have finally reached a conclusion in the Aaron Rodgers situation. And then something that I can't believe we haven't talked about until now, and it's what we're going to actually open up the show with. One of the, maybe arguably the greatest player in the history of Wright State men's basketball called it. Man, what a rough way to start the show. One of the greatest players, maybe the greatest player in Wright State men's basketball history, called it a career, and we haven't touched on it yet, and that feels wrong. So we'll get into all that. But Parker, how are you?
I'm doing all right. It was fun to do the show live yesterday, and yeah, I can't wait to get back to that. But still a few more weeks of this, WebEx remote shows. But yeah, it was fun, and we're gonna have another fun one today.
Yeah, we sure are. So let's get started, shall we? With the news that came out probably about a week ago, and that is that Loudon Love, Wright State forward, Wright State, one of the best players in this in the history of this program, announced his intentions to turn pro, beginning his professional career with Stade Rocheles. I probably butchered that, but he signed with a team in France, in La Rochelle. That's southwest of Paris. So Loudon Love is starting his professional basketball career in Paris, and thus has played his last game with the Wright State Raiders.
Yeah, and I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. I was thinking Loudon was going to leave. I didn't. It would have surprised me if he did come back, but he's headed to France, and he's going to play over in France. And I'm excited to see what he does. He has a lot of talent, so hopefully, if he does well over in France, maybe we'll see him in the NBA.
Very possible. And I mean, I think that, like you said, I think a lot of, Raider Nation, a lot of the Raider basketball fans, kind of treated the whole Loudon Love situation as a tough breakup, where we went through the stages of grief, if you will. We had a stage of denial, and there's no way he doesn't come back. I mean, why would he end it? I mean, we said for months, why would he end his career on that game against Milwaukee? He's going to come back. And then, we hit the stage of just grief and bargaining, where we were saying, we'll go out and we'll get Darius Quisenberry. We'll go out, we'll get Amari Davis so Loudon comes back. And now we're at the point of acceptance, and it sucks not being able to have the two-time Horizon League Player of the Year, but it's not a death sentence for Wright State men's basketball by any means. This team still has Tim Finke. This team still has Tanner Holden, Grant Basile, very talented transfers in CJ Wilborn and Riley Voss. I'm excited to see this team in action. And yes, not having Loudon Love out on the court is not going to help, but I still think it's a team that's one of the three best teams in this league, along with Milwaukee and pick your poison between Northern Kentucky and Cleveland State. I'd give a slight edge to Cleveland State, but Northern Kentucky is right there too. But I think it's one of the best 3 or 4 teams in this conference, and I think with or without Loudon Love, as long as this team's coached by Scott Nagy, and as long as this team has guys like Holden, Basile, Finke on that roster, it's still a team that has the talent to win a championship.
They do, and they proved that last year. The Milwaukee game was rough to say the least, but they if you had another 5 minutes to that game, I think you see Wright State win it. But um, yeah, I think that they're going to be good. Like you said, Scott Nagy coach teams are always good. They're always in it. So like you said, top 4 team in this conference for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of biting my tongue trying to wait for the schedule to drop before I start, breaking down every team in this league, because I'm ready to start doing Horizon League basketball talk again. But I don't want to, get all my takes out about the Horizon League before the schedule comes out. So I'm trying to hold off until the schedule comes out, but it's getting hard because I want to talk about Pat Baldwin Jr. I want to talk about Marquez Warwick, Trayvon Faulkner. I want to talk about, the reigning champs, the Cleveland State Vikings. I want to talk about, one of my favorite teams to watch in this league, that I think is going to be really, really good this year and surprise a lot of people. And that's IPFW, what they did last year, taking Cleveland State to triple overtime. They have Godfrey and Pipkins back, and our good friend Will Baptist covers them for Horizon Roundtable. And I think that they have a chance to make a lot of people very frustrated this year at the top of the league, and maybe, start to move towards the top of the league themselves. So it wouldn't be Horizon League basketball if 8 teams didn't have a chance to win at all, and it looks like it's going to be another year of that.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, there's lots of intriguing teams. Milwaukee, so excited to see what they come out and do. Of course, they added, Baldwin Jr. there, one of the best high school players coming out. And so he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I can't wait to see, Milwaukee come to another center. As the defending champions in Cleveland State, there's lots of exciting teams. You go down the list: IPFW, Northern Kentucky, Detroit Mercy with Antoine Davis. There's so many talented teams in this conference, and it's going to be a fun year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exciting. And for those of you that haven't, kept up with the Milwaukee Panthers since the end of last season, it's going to be a very, very interesting development, because last year they had Lucas and Golston, and then they got Baldwin to commit, but we weren't sure what that meant because they lost Wilborn, who transferred to Wright State, and Lucas and Golston were both supposed to transfer. Lucas ended up going to BYU, but Golston decided to stay. So now it's a new dynamic duo with Pat Baldwin Jr. and DeAndre Golston. And I mean, T. Lucas is going to be a big loss for the Panthers. Their all-time leading assist leader. I think he's like 3rd or 4th on their all-time scoring list as well. One of their best guards in the history of the program. It's going to be a big loss to try and replace him at point guard. But we know what DeAndre Golston's capable of, and he's still only a junior. He's got 2 full years left of eligibility in the Horizon League. This is a guy that's got, first team all-conference talent, and now you're pairing him with a guy that's probably going to be preseason player of the year in Pat Baldwin Jr. This Milwaukee team just seems like they're talented enough to suffocate anyone they're on the floor with.
Right, they are, and they look really strong. Like you said, they added Pat Baldwin Jr., who's going to be really good. And then they get Golston back. So this team looks really fun. They've lost a couple guys, which hurts, no doubt, but they look really strong, and they're probably going to come out and be the favorites. If not number 2 behind Cleveland State, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what Milwaukee comes out and does.
And how fun is the fight going to be for first team All Horizon League this year, where you have Golston and Baldwin at Milwaukee, you have Torrey Patton back at Cleveland State, you have Holden and Basili at Wright State, you have Faulkner and Warwick at Northern Kentucky, you still have Brahma at Robert Morris. I mean, there's like 12 guys that are deserving of being first team All Horizon League this year, and we're going to have to pick 5 of them. And it might not even be those 12 that we're thinking of off the top of our head. Somebody could come out of nowhere and make first team, because that happens all the time, I feel like. I mean, last year, who would have thought Grant Basile would have been more than Loudon Love's backup until he started averaging, 15 points a game. And now I think a lot of people think, he might be the second best big in the conference, only to Baldwin.
Yeah, it's insane. Basile did some fantastic things last year, and he will be Horizon League first team. If that's, I don't think that's a hot take. I think he will be Horizon League all first team. But this conference is fun. So many talented players, talented teams, talented coaches that are, the Horizon League's getting the recognition I think that they've been looking for with, Pat Baldwin Jr. going to Milwaukee. A lot of people thought he would go to a bigger school, like a Duke, like or an SEC or a Big Ten school, but he goes to Milwaukee and the Horizon League. So, I think the best night of college basketball I've ever seen was that quarterfinal night. And the Horizon League got a lot of love that night. But they, all these teams look really strong. I'm excited seeing what each one of them comes out and does. They got so much talent, and we're gonna have a fun year of Horizon League basketball.
No doubt about it. And we're gonna wait. Like I said, we're waiting for the schedule to drop. When the schedule drops, we're gonna do team previews. We're gonna do award predictions. Who do you think is gonna be player of the year? Who do we think is gonna finish where in the standings? But I will give you a little bit of a sneak peek. Now, part of this is probably the Wright State homer in me. Probably. I will admit that a majority of votes, and deservedly so, are probably going to go to Pat Baldwin Jr. for Horizon League Player of the Year. And he deserves that kind of hype. I mean, he's going to be a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. So, yes, this kid's going to be very, very good. But all I'm saying is don't count this guy out, because I think he just gets better and better every single time he takes the court. He's a team-first guy. He finds ways to win. He's improved his jump shot. He's a great defender, really athletic. He can play guard. He can play forward. He can even run the point a little bit. Watch out for Tanner Holden. I really think he has a shot at Horizon League Player of the Year this year.
I think so, too. He was kind of the Robin to Loudon Love's Batman last season, but
he gets to be Batman now.
He is, and this is his team now. I think that, based on last year, he's going to come out and do some fantastic things. And I'm excited to seeing what Tanner Holden does and how Scott Nagy uses him. Maybe we'll see them change up what they do kind of on both sides of the ball. Maybe we'll see him change up a few things. But I'm excited to see how Scott Nagy uses Tanner Holden. Is he going to use him as more of an offensive guy? Because we know Tanner Holden can go get points. It's not a surprise to anybody how good he is. But
right. I feel like Tanner Holden can average 15 and 8 in his sleep, which is all conference type numbers.
And one thing that Scott Nagy has always preached is defense, defense, defense. And if you play good defense turns into offense. So maybe we'll see a more defensive mindset. Even more so than we've seen in previous years with Scott Nagy's team this season. But who knows? The only one who knows that is Scott Nagy. So, this is going to be a fun year. Tanner Holden's, I'm looking for him to have a monster year.
Yeah, I think that, a common theme with Scott Nagy-led teams is just tempo and pace. He loves to play fast on offense. He loves to, work the ball around, get quick opportunities to score in transition. So I think it's just a team that knows that they can outpace a lot of teams that they go up against. And that leads to them averaging, 75, 80 points a game, but it also leads to them forcing a lot of turnovers on the defensive end of the ball. That leads to them being very scrappy. Yeah. Do they commit a lot of fouls sometimes? Probably. Do they give up too many points sometimes? Probably. But modern basketball, modern college basketball, it's all about the number of mistakes you force. It's less about good, in my opinion, at least. And I think most people will agree with this. College basketball now, I think it's more important to have to be a strong defense. I think it's more important to force more turnovers and to make the other team uncomfortable than it is to just allow less points. Where I think a team that only allows 65 points a game but also forces 15 turnovers is a better defense than a team that allows 58 points a game but only gets 8 turnovers.
Yeah, it does. And defensive basketball is something that I've always loved to watch. Teams that play good defense win. In a league or in a game that's all about scoring now, and we've seen plenty of scoring from Wright State. Last year they averaged 80 points a game, and that's insane numbers. But 80 points a game for a defensive-minded team is pretty darn good. So they're gonna come out and I feel like they're gonna, with these new transfers in Wilborn and Voss, they're gonna use these guys to their extreme potential. And I think both these guys have tremendous talent that's gonna help this team immensely.
Yeah, I agree. Last thing I want to touch on really quick, and I promise I'll save everything else for when the schedule drops. But another guy I'm really excited to see, a guy I've heard a lot of really good things about, true freshman guard, Keaton Norris. Obviously, maybe you've heard his brother, Braden Norris, who's the point guard for Loyola Chicago, started his career with Oakland, and Greg Campy, transferred to Loyola, where he played for Porter Moser for the past couple of years. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if he ended up following Porter Moser to Oklahoma too. But he was the point guard of that Loyola team that knocked off Illinois. He was the point guard of that Loyola team that, is, the Cinderellas of the tournament for a few years. But his little brother Keaton, very similar size, very similar in the way he plays. Scott Nagy likes this guy a lot. He's already compared him to Cole Gentry, very similar playing style. And that's good news for Raider fans, because Cole Gentry, not the flashiest guy on the court, not Horizon League Player of the Year kind of guy, but incredibly intelligent point guard, always makes the right read, runs the offense to near perfection, and is an outstanding three-point shooter. And that's exactly what Wright State needs. They have the stars, Tanner Holden, Grant Basile, Tim Finke even. All they need is a guy that distributes the ball and can shoot when open. And I think Keaton Norris is going to be a huge addition for the Raiders this year. I'm really excited to see him play.
Me too. And we've heard Scott Nagy talk about this before, in that he doesn't want his players to think about, would coach want me to take this shot, or is coach not going to like me if I take this shot? Scott Nagy's mindset is just take the shot and don't worry about it. But I'm excited to see what Morris comes in and does, because he's going to be one of the bright spots for Scott Nagy, because of course you have Tim Finke, you have Tanner Holden, Grant Basile, right. But the bench guys are just as important as those starters. You're going to have Wilborn, you're going to have Voss, and then you're going to have this other guy coming in. So this Wright State team is going to be fun.
They are.
It was a fun team last year, but this one I'm really looking forward to.
And that's the common theme that this whole topic was about. Yeah, it sucks to lose Loudon Love, but this team's still 8-9 guys deep, and they're really dang good.
And we've seen Scott Nagy. He only plays 6 or 7 guys anyway.
Yeah.
And
I think that's why he got some of these recruits and some of these transfers, because he doesn't want to do that again this year. Where you think about it, let's think about it. Projected starting lineup. Let's assume probably, I don't know. Would he start Wilborn or would he start Hugh Briggs? Probably Wilborn. Wilborn's got a little more experience. So I'm thinking for the starting lineup, Calvin, Finke, Holden, Wilborn, Basile. That's probably the starting 5. That means off the bench, you have Keaton Norris, you have Alex Hubricks, you have Riley Voss, you have Andrew Wellage, and you have Andy Neff. I mean, so it's not a 12-man bench that Cleveland State. It's not a 12-man rotation that Cleveland State runs with Dennis Gates. I don't know if anybody in the country replicates that, but having an 8-9-man rotation is so much better than having 5-6.
Yeah, and that's depth is key. You don't want to have your starters get a break, and then you give up, the other team goes on a 10, 15 point run, and all of a sudden you're down by 6 or 7. That's it's not good. So you want to have more guys in the mix that can play that sort of role, that can come in and get buckets, that play good defense, and you don't have to rely on that starting 5. So and that's what we saw a lot last year with the Raiders. They played 6 or 7 guys, the same 6 or 7 guys every game. And with the occasional appearances from guys like like you said, Andy Neff.
When they were up by 30, yeah.
Right, yeah. You see TJ Nagy, you see Andy Neff, you see those guys when you're up by 20 or 30. But if you have more of that rotation between 7, 8, 9 guys, you're not going to have to worry about your bench being productive, because you'll have those guys on the bench that can be productive for you. So and maybe if you have those guys on the court that can score and that can play good defense, maybe you see more of the Andy Neffs, the TJ Nagys on the floor more when you're not up by 25 or 30.
Well, it's just thinking about it. If last year it was, if Loudon Love or Grant Basile got in foul trouble, it was, you couldn't really replace them on the court. This year, if Basile gets 2 fouls early on, still not ideal, but you have Wilborn, you have Wellage, and you have Voss. 3 guys that are capable of playing center and letting Basile not have to pick up that 3rd foul, because that's all Nagy has as an option. So, and by the way, I don't know if anybody had really paid attention. I kind of forgot about this, but Grant Basile's changing his number this year. So he's now going to be rocking 00 starting this year. So he's going, now that Jalen Hall, transferred to Moorhead, and I wish Jalen Hall the best of luck at Moorhead State. Number 0 is up for grabs, and Grant Basile pounced on it. So we'll see Grant Basile rocking the 00 at the Nut House this year.
Yeah, that's one of the more fun things. You see guys change their number. You see guys move schools, and so this is going to be a fun team. You got Basile, Calvin, Holden, Hubricht, and then you add Norris, Wilborn, and Voss to a team that's already a heck of a lot of fun. Of course you'll have guys like Finke, Nagy, James Manns, Wellage back, but those guys are still going to be, they're going to play a big factor and a big role. But one thing that I'm noticing with this team is they have size.
They're big, aren't they?
Yeah, lots of it. Basile 6'9", Tanner Holden 6'6". CJ Wilborn 6'7", AJ Braun, the incoming freshman, is 6'9". Voss is 6'6". Andy Neff is 6'7". James Manns is 6'7". This is a big team.
Finke starts shooting guard and he's 6'6".
Yeah, and this is going to be a fun team. I'm excited to see them come out. They're going to use that size to their advantage too. I promise you.
And I'm glad I kind of pulled up the roster, because that's 2 guys I forgot to touch on. I don't know how much we're going to see from them this year, because they're both true freshmen. But Brandon Noel and AJ Braun, 2 guys that I know Scott Nagy's really excited about. Brandon Noel, 6'8" forward from Lucasville, went to Chillicothe, which is a really good school for basketball. He's really, really talented in the post. Reminds me, I've seen some of the videos from practice. He just reminds me a lot of kind of like, it's not really a fading jumper like a LaMarcus Aldridge or a Dirk. It's more like a, who would I compare it to? Like a Zach Randolph kind of, where you do like the up and under moves, the quick little spins. He's very, very quick with his footwork around the rim and the post. So I'm excited to see him. He's got a lot of potential. And then AJ Braun, 6'9" center out of Bishop Fenwick, which I know they have a great baseball program because they always beat us. But I know, anytime you're a 6'9" forward playing D1 basketball, you've already got size on your side. And I know he also, unlike a lot of, 6'9" centers, I've heard he also can spread the floor and shoot a little bit. So I'm excited about this recruiting class, the transfers and the incoming freshmen. I know I can't say this is, Scott Nagy's best recruiting job, because he's gotten Bill Wampler, Loudon Love, Cole Gentry, Tanner Holden, Tim Finke. Scott Nagy's done pretty dang good every single year of recruiting. But it just looks like he knocked it out of the park again this year. I mean, even the guys that aren't going to play a ton of minutes this year look like they're going to be big impact players in a year or two.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about the Horizon League is you see guys come in and they make an impact early on. Maybe we'll see some of these freshmen on this team come out and play really well. Maybe we'll see. Yeah, I think Norris will play well. Braun and Noel look like they're going to be pretty solid players as well. So you're going to have a lot of guys on this team that so a lot of new faces, but I think they're going to be um, big producers for Scott Nagy.
Yeah, I know you're a little younger than me. Did you get to see Braden Norris play his 1 year at Oakwood or Oakland? Oakwood's a high school that my school's rivals with. Oakland.
I did not.
So he's not a huge scorer. He averaged, I think, like 12, 13 a game, but he averaged like 9 assists as a true freshman and then transferred to Loyola with Porter Moser. I think Keaton can be the exact same kind of dude. I don't think he's going to be a 16, 17 points per game scorer. I think he averages 12, 13. I think he's literally a clone of Cole Gentry. I think this is a dude that's going to put up 12, 13 points a game, probably third or fourth on the team. He's going to be a really good free throw shooter, really good 3-point shooter, which Lord knows the Raiders need good free throw shooters. Really good 3-point shooter. So he's going to be another weapon. You try to double team Basili in the post, Keaton Norris could be open for 3. You try to, collapse in on Tanner Holden, he can just kick it right back out. But he just seems like both from his brother and from Cole Gentry, just seems like a dude that's going to always see the open guy on the floor. And I'm really excited for that. Not in any way trying to diss Trey Calvin. I think Trey Calvin's a heck of a basketball player, good shooter. He's played a really well point guard for the Wright State Raiders the last year and a half or so. And I think he'll be good again this year. But I'm really excited for the future of Keaton Norris. I think he's a really solid sixth man kind of type player his freshman year. And starting his sophomore year, I think he's a starter and an all-conference caliber point guard.
Yeah, and I think so too. And one guy that we saw be, really productive off the bench for Scott Nagy last year was Alex Hubricht. He came in and he was your sharpshooter. He was your, I'm not going to say Steph Curry, but he was that, that shooter type that you need, like a Doug McDermott kind of player.
Right.
Where
and it was interesting to see because he started the year really poorly from 3. I think he shot like 32% the first month and a half of the year, but he just got better and better as the year went on. You could tell he was getting comfortable in the offense. He was getting to his spots quicker. He was getting more comfortable, more rhythm. And by the end of the year, I think he shot like 37% from 3. I think the second half of the season, he shot like over 40%. He was really effective. And he's not just a shooter. I also remember a handful of times where he, drove and got some and ones, drove and drew some contact in the lane. And he's also a pretty strong defender. I remember a handful of times when he had really good, strips on drives to the hole and stuff. So, I mean, Hubricht is a very solid, not as big as Tim Finke, but a similar kind of player where he's a good shooter and a great defender. Good, and it's always important to have 3-and-D guys in modern college basketball.
It is, and we saw that like you said, out of guys like Finke and Hubricht last year, where you come in and Basili gets in trouble inside, and who's open in the corner? Hubricht, Finke. Finke hit that corner slot almost every time.
I think a lot of people forget how dang good was Tim Finke the second half of the season last year. Oh my goodness, Finke everyone forgets because of Love, Basili, and Holden. Finke was dropping like 16 a game the last month of the year.
Yeah, and that's the kind of consistency that we need more of if you're Scott Nagy. You want that consistent 12, 15, 20 points from guys like Finke that you don't have to worry about. There's certain guys that are very streaky. They get into a groove, and they score 15, 20 points in a span of 3 or 4 games, and then they go cold for a few games, and then they're back to 15 or 20 for another 4, and just it repeats. But you need more of that consistent 10, 15 point player where you don't have to worry about, is he going to have an off night? So you need that kind of player, and I think Finke will be that player this year for Scott Nagy.
I think Finke is just a dude where when I see the stat sheet, when I see the box score at the end of the game, he just always stuffs it. And it's not always in the score, it's not always 15 points, but Tim Finke's just a winner, man. It feels like he contributes to the game in all assets, or all facets, all assets, all facets. You look at the box score after the game, you almost always see Tim Finke 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 4 field goals, 2 threes, a couple free throws. I mean, this dude just does everything. He's the Swiss Army knife for Scott Nagy.
Yeah. And this team is, really talented, not only defensively, but offensively. I mean, some of these scores, they put up in the first conference game of the year, in Detroit, put up 93. They put up 90 on Green Bay, 90 on Oakland, 93 on Youngstown State, 85 on Cleveland State, 95 and 100 on IUPUI, 86 on Robert Morris, 92 on Milwaukee, 92 on Milwaukee again.
And even the game that they lost to Milwaukee, didn't they put up like 93?
Yeah, final score of that, 94-92. So It was, unbelievable scoring from this, this Raider offense. And Scott Nagy talks about it all the time, and I said it already. Defense turns into offense. In some of these games, you see they're holding these teams to not a lot of points. They played Oakland on January 1st, 90-51.
Yeah.
So that's unbelievable. And then just a week later against Youngstown State, 93-55. So it's a very good defensive team. And they use that defense and turn it into offense. We've seen this team go on runs that are insane. So
no doubt.
I'm really looking forward to basketball season. I can't wait.
If you can't tell, because we've been talking about it for 32 minutes, but I think that I don't think you need to. I think Wright State's proven that their offensive and defensive philosophies work. I don't think you need to change anything about how you prepare, how you get ready for games. I think the two biggest things that's haunted Wright State in big games in the tournament over the last 2 years, you can narrow it down to two things. Make your freaking free throws in big games and don't turn the ball over. You limit your turnovers and you make your free throws, aka limiting mistakes, basketball 101. This Wright State team's good enough to not only get to the NCAA tournament, I still believe they're good enough to win a game in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, they are. And this is, we saw this a lot last year in that they get inside their own heads. And and what I mean by that is you get up by 15 or 20 or 25 and you kind of pump the brakes a little bit and you're like, all right, we got this. And that exact thing happened in that Milwaukee game. They were up by 25 with 6 minutes left. And they're like, we got this. And what happened? Milwaukee went on an insane run and they won the game. So they get inside their own heads. They know they're good. And when you know you're good, you tend to kind of, I don't want to say, take a night off, but that's what they did sometimes, in that they kind of pump the brakes a little bit. It's like, all right, we can kind of step back, but no, you can't do that in Horizon League. There's too many good teams, too many good players that will make your life miserable if you continue to do that.
In 2 or 3 years ago, maybe you could have gotten away with that a little bit more. With a couple of years ago, it was just Wright State and NKU at the top, and that was it. Nobody really challenged them. But now, you have Milwaukee, you have Cleveland State, you have UIC, you have IUPUI, you have all these teams that are fighting. It's interesting, and like you said, you can't take any nights off in the Horizon League anymore. The gap between the top and the middle ground is a lot less than what it was 3-4 years ago, where we saw the team that was 14th or whatever. I forget what IPFW was last year, 11th or 12th place or whatever, beat Cleveland State a game or two before the tournament. Everyone's like, oh my goodness, Cleveland State just lost to a team that's at the bottom of the standings. A couple of years ago, Northern Kentucky beat Wright State to take first place with like a week left in the season. it was the two teams tied for first, and everyone went crazy because everyone thought NKU won the league, and then their next game they lost to last place Cleveland State and let Wright State right back in it. And so, I mean, what we've learned over the last couple of years is there's no nights off in the Horizon League. Any team can win on any given night now in this league, and that's what I love about it. I mean, every time we go to the Netter Center, Parker, I mean, you never really know what you're going to get. I remember last year, Christian and I did this game, but Darius Quisenberry was out for Youngstown State in that game at the Netter Center. Everyone was like, oh my goodness, they don't have Quisenberry. We're going to run Youngstown State out of the gym. Nas Bohannon played one of the best games of his life. 32 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, and also had, the assist to who put the game-winning dunk in. I forget who it was. Michael Akuche maybe. But alley-oop to win the game as time expired, and Youngstown State stunned Wright State at the buzzer at the Netter Center. And I mean, that's just the kind of, that's the kind of league the Horizon League is. Any team can win on any given night.
Yeah. And that's why it's so much fun. And we like you said, go to the Netter Center. You don't know what you're going to get. Of course, you want Wright State to win. Of course you do. But it's not always a guarantee. And that's what's so fun about this is you always, you expect Wright State to be good, but what you don't expect is teams like NKU to be possibly the 5th or 6th best team in this conference. It's insane. When like you said, when 3 or 4 years ago, it was Wright State and NKU at the top, and that was it. But now you got 6, 7, 8, all of the teams in this conference have a chance to be really good, and there's 12 or so teams fighting for 4 spots, and they all have a shot at all 4 of those spots. Like we say all the time, there's no such thing as an 8 seed in this conference. There's no such thing as a 10 seed in this conference. They're all 1, 2, 3, 4. They all have that talent. So it's insane to see the level of talent in this conference and how fun it is.
No doubt about it. And if you can't tell how excited we are for Horizon League basketball season, we're almost at 40 minutes of talking about this when we were originally just going to talk about Loudon Love leaving. But I can guarantee you that when the schedule drops, we'll be talking Horizon League basketball a lot. But I'm just really excited for Horizon League sports in general coming back. Soccer's right around the corner. Like, I think their first game's like less than a month and away now. Is that right? I think it's less than a month away.
Yeah, I'm excited. We got club football, we got volleyball, we got basketball, soccer. There's so much going on at Wright State early on in the year, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, first exhibition for men's soccer is on August 12th. First exhibition for women's soccer is on August 11th. And first volleyball exhibitions on August 21st. So if you're keeping track at home, today is July 27th. Let me do some quick math here. That's 15 days until the first Wright State sporting event of the year.
It's exciting.
It is.
We're going into another year of Wright State athletics, and we're getting back to somewhat normal. I'm excited to have fans back. I'm excited to call a game with fans. I haven't done that yet, but I'm excited to get back to the Netter Center.
Ready to get heckled by volleyball parents, man. They're insane.
I've experienced some of that on Twitter, but I'm sure in person it's certainly different.
Yes, it is. Especially if you keep calling net rim like I've done. And especially, I know we're both guilty of this, but never call a game or never call a match a game, or they will pretend that it's the Salem witch trials.
Yeah, and I promise you I'm going to do that. So I apologize in advance.
I've done it on the ESPN Plus feed, so
just like in our intro, constantly confuse matches for games. It happens. I'll do it every single time. I apologize. I know that, if any of the volleyball parents are listening right now, I know you're going to roast me, and that's okay. I'm used to it. But Yeah, certainly just excited to get back to the Nutter Center, back to McLean, back to, Alumni Field, Nischwitz, all of it.
No doubt about it. I mean, that's the best part of all of this. Let's really quick. We got about 20 minutes left in hour number one. Let's get into the Aaron Rodgers drama. That is maybe not drama anymore. Kind of. It's a different level of drama. Aaron Rodgers is going to play for the Packers this season. They reworked the new deal. They actually voided the last year of his contract. So this will be his final season with the Packers. And then he can go wherever he wants after the year is over or retire, whatever he decides to do. So, that picture he posted of Jordan and Pippen a couple days ago on Instagram, Devontae Adams also posted. Well, the speculation ended up being true, Parker. I mean, this looks like it's going to be Aaron Rodgers' last dance.
Yeah, and I'm honestly surprised that he's going to play in Green Bay this year.
I am too.
I didn't think he would.
Especially because they didn't fire anybody in the front office.
Yeah, and I loved the trash talk that Tom Brady had with the match a few weeks back, where he called out Aaron Rodgers for being, quote, mad at his boss. Yeah, it looks like they've worked something out, and they are, he's eligible to become a free agent or retire after this next season. So. That was how they reworked the deal, and they're gonna milk all they can on Aaron Rodgers. And with Aaron Rodgers coming back, sparks Devontae Adams' curiosity into, I want to play with Aaron. Who wouldn't want to play with Aaron? He's really good. So this Packers team, I saw that their Super Bowl odds went way up with Aaron Rodgers coming back, and as it should. But this situation has been a mess all summer long. So I'm glad to see they got it worked out. But yeah, like you said, last dance approach certainly for Aaron Rodgers, at least in Green Bay.
Yeah. I don't know where he ends up going. Maybe he tries to one up Brett Favre and go to the Vikings. I don't know. Be weird, wouldn't it?
It would. Green Bay would erupt.
I'm trying to think where he go. Okay, let's play a game. Where would Aaron Rodgers go if he left Green Bay after this year? I'm trying to think of spots. I could see New Orleans.
I could see
100% see San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan.
Right. I could see San Francisco. I could see Denver.
I could see Denver. You know what's crazy? I know they just drafted a quarterback. I could see New England.
As much as I would hate to see that, I can see it.
I don't know, man. Part of me, there's a part of me that thinks there's like a small sliver of Aaron Rodgers that just has a Patriot vibe.
Here's one that I think is interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on this. If Tua struggles this year, maybe we see Aaron Rodgers in Miami.
Possible. I don't know his thoughts on Flores. I think Flores is a great young coach. Here's something else that you could see for, a more short-term, or not short-term, maybe not short-term fix, but a quicker fix for the Dolphins if they don't want to play the I don't know game with Aaron Rodgers. If Tua struggles, a guy that I really, really like that they could go after because he's kind of stuck now in a situation where he's probably not going to be the starter, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew's played pretty dang well when he's gotten a chance to play. He's just not going to get to play because they drafted Trevor Lawrence.
Right. And that's tough.
So if Tua really struggles, I wouldn't be surprised, you throw a 5th or 6th round pick, bring in Gardner. Either Gardner plays well and saves the season, or Gardner pushes Tua in practice and Tua finally becomes the quarterback you want him to be.
What about the New York Giants for Aaron Rodgers?
I could totally see that. I'm not going to lie. I think Aaron Rodgers would love to play in New York.
I think it would be perfect for.
Where do they record Jeopardy? It's not in New York. Is it in California?
I think so.
That's what I mean. But he's definitely interested in television. You can tell. So I think New York and Los Angeles is kind of, filled at the quarterback position with Stafford. But I think New York and San Francisco both make a lot of sense, not just because of the football destinations, which I think both are good football teams that could use a quarterback, but also because of Aaron Rodgers' passion for television and stuff like that. I think San Francisco and New York both make a lot of sense because it's two of the media capitals of the world.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's an interesting one. I would love to see Aaron Rodgers in New York.
What about Pittsburgh?
Ooh,
What if Big
that's an
Ben
interesting.
retires and they go after Aaron Rodgers?
That's an interesting one.
I didn't
Tomlin
even
and Aaron
think about
Rodgers. That's an interesting one.
I wouldn't want to see that. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to have. I mean, Burrow versus Rodgers sounds fun, but I don't want to have to play Aaron Rodgers twice a year.
Right,
Let the
and
Bears do that.
yeah, and
What if he goes to the Lions just to prove everyone wrong?
oh, that would be a nasty combination. Dan Campbell and Aaron Rodgers. That would be fun. Here's one. I don't know if they do it because they have a guy who he certainly has a lot of question marks, but he's stepping into a new role this year. Philly.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think Philly's going after a different quarterback. I think they're going after Deshaun Watson.
Okay. All right. I wouldn't hate that at all.
I think Rodgers obviously is a top tier quarterback for any football team in the league. If you don't have Mahomes or Brady, Rodgers is an upgrade over the quarterback that you have. But I think the kind of the scheme that Philly likes to run with a lot of read option that goes back to the Chip Kelly days. Andy Reid, Chip Kelly. I mean, they're kind of a West Coast style on the East Coast. They run a lot of read option, a lot of quarterback movement, stuff like that. I think Watson's a perfect fit in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and he's and I know
And Watson's about to enter the prime of his career too. So
right, if he hasn't already.
yeah.
And so this is interesting. Aaron Rodgers going to be back in Green Bay this season, but after this winter, who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't know. I mean, I would say it's a pretty safe bet. This is his last year with the Packers.
Yeah,
Now, whether he retires or whether he goes somewhere else, I don't know. I think it's a coin flip. I think it depends on this season, really. I think if the Packers, win the Super Bowl, I think he'd be content with retiring. But if he's still got a little, urge to play some football left in him, I think it's somewhere not Green Bay. And if I had to rank, I think the three teams that are most likely to get him, I would probably say, in no particular order, Denver, San Francisco, and probably the New York Giants.
yeah, I'd probably say the same thing. This is tough. I'm going to say Denver as well. New York also.
I know the Niners have Trey Lance, and I know he's got a ton of hype surrounding him, but people have been, fangirling Shanahan and Rodgers for like 5 years.
Right, and that's tough. I mean, I'm curious to see how the Sam Darnold situation works out in Carolina.
That's fair.
I want to see what Matt Rule does with Sam Darnold if he struggles this year.
Mm-hmm.
It might be all she wrote for Sam Darnold. Could you imagine Aaron Rodgers in Charlotte?
What
Wow.
about what about your team? A team we haven't touched on yet. What if Wentz doesn't work out? What if the Colts go on after A-Rod? What if what if Wentz's bad year wasn't a fluke? What if he stinks this year and the Colts are like, all right, we need to have the best quarterback we've had since, well, I guess you could say since Luck, but since Peyton. And they go after A-Rod. A-Rod to Indy?
I don't know because it seems to me that's not something the Colts would do. That's not a Colts move to me.
That's fair.
I
It's like the Bengals signing Brady. It's like the Bengals would never do that.
I don't know. That's tough. I'm really hoping for the best for Carson Wentz for my own sanity.
I don't think Wentz will be terrible.
I don't either. I don't think he's going to be as good as he was, but I don't think he's going to be completely bad like he was last year.
I think if I'm thinking like quarterbacks in the league that I think he'd put up similar numbers to this year. Now, if it was before this year, I would have said Baker, but I think Baker's developed a little bit, and I think Baker will have a better year than Carson Wentz. But just some guys that pop in my head that I think he could very easily replicate the numbers of this year: Jared Goff, um, Jameis Winston down in New Orleans. I think Wentz probably honestly is more talented than Jameis. I just think Jameis has better. I don't know how I'd word that. Jameis has better arm talent, but I think Wentz is a better decision maker. But a guy like Jared Goff, he's been to a Super Bowl. You know, he's more than capable, above average, solid quarterback. And I don't know if we're going to see Wentz go to the freaking Pro Bowl, but I think he's more than capable of, being a solid B quarterback.
I think so too. This is, I've said it all along, ever since they traded for him. I'm on a we'll see basis with Carson Wentz. If he's terrible, it would surprise me, but not as much as you might think. If he's really good, that's going to surprise me more than anything. If he's average, I'm expecting him to be average. He'll be similar to what Philip Rivers did last year, I think.
If he's back to MVP Wentz, that could go down as one of the better trades in Colts history.
It could. And if he's good and the Colts play well and they make the playoffs, of course, that second round pick that they traded turns into a first. But if he plays well, I'm okay with that.
Right. I mean, if you get that Wentz back from Philly when he was playing under Frank Reich, I mean, with that first round pick, you're not going to find a dude that impacts a team as much as that Carson Wentz does.
Yeah. And the thing I'm more looking forward to with this Colts team is their defense. Of course, they're in talks with Darius Leonard on getting him a big deal, but this defense is looking really good. Of course, you have Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner, among others up front, and then you have Leonard, holding down the middle, along with a couple other backers. But the secondary looks fantastic with Rhodes, with Kenny Moore, with Kari Willis, and Julian Blackman. This secondary, personally, I think has the chance to be top 5.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think it's definitely a really strong defense, a really strong secondary, and I mean, the Colts put themselves in a good position where they have Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines, really capable receivers, T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell. Carson Wentz can be average, and that can still be an 11-win team. Like, it's a really good football team. So I think even if Carson Wentz is the average quarterback that we're kind of expecting him to be, this is a team that could very easily win this division. I think it's between them and the Titans. But if Carson Wentz exceeds our expectations, I think it's a team that could, probably not challenge the Chiefs and Bills, but be right behind them.
Yeah, and I don't know.
And who the heck knows? If MVP Wentz is back, maybe that team does hang with the Bills. I don't know.
The Colts give me more stress than they should. I really don't know.
Who stresses you out more, the Dodgers or the Colts?
The Colts.
Okay.
It's by a mile.
For me, it's harder. I'd say the Reds stress me out more than the Bengals, but it's because my expectations for the Reds are higher.
Yeah, and I've been certainly spoiled with Andrew Luck as our quarterback for 8 years or wherever it was. But this is I thought we'd get 2 years out of Rivers. I did, but he wants to coach high school football. More power to him. But yeah, this Carson Wentz thing, I'm really intrigued to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting for sure. I'm excited to see how it plays out as well. Joe Burrow, full 100% cleared of all of his torn ACL stuff. Mike Brown did an interview today for the first time in like 2 years and said that Burrow will not probably play in preseason just to make sure nothing happens, but he is good to go. He's already, moving around 100% throwing at training camp. So Good news, not just for Bengals fans, but I think for most NFL fans in general, because I think it's hard to dislike the kid. I mean, you can hate the Bengals all you want, but I think a overwhelming majority of NFL fans want to see Joe Burrow succeed.
Yeah. And I just saw that the Reds got walked off by Baez. That's
Yeah,
brutal.
I know.
That's brutal.
It's the worst, isn't it?
Man.
Again, trade for Kimbrel before the Cubs go back to the freaking hotel tonight. Like literally go into the visiting or go into the Cubs clubhouse and be like, I'm not leaving the stadium until you give me Kimbrel. What do you want?
You have that mindset?
At this point, yes, they need a reliever that can get outs, and Kimbrel has a .47 ERA.
Yeah,
And if you get him
first,
tonight, the Giants and Phillies can't take him from you.
right. And personally, I think the Reds are gonna, or not the Reds, the Cubs are gonna trade all four of those guys. I think they're gonna trade Rizzo, Baez, Bryant, and Kimbrel.
I think, yeah, I know they trade Bryant. I know they trade Kimbrel. I'm pretty sure they trade Baez. Rizzo, I'm up in the air on. I still see him as Mr. Cub, and I don't think they want him to go. But they really do seem like they're about to blow this thing up.
Yeah, and my idea or my thought process with Rizzo is they trade him, get a few prospects to
It could
kind
be
of
like
work.
the Chapman thing in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They trade him, get a few prospects, and then bring him back in free agency come the winter. But that's my mindset with Rizzo. Everybody else, I think they're gonna just say, thanks, but no thanks. We're gonna trade you and see what we can get.
We'll get into this in hour number 2 here in just a few minutes, but I think Baez goes to Oakland.
Ooh, I like that actually.
I don't think Oakland gets Story. I think Story ends up going to a big market team, but I think they get Baez, which I don't like Baez, but he definitely is an upgrade over Elvis Andrus.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that later.
And he just
Um,
walked off the Reds, so I can't talk too much crap because
right.
obviously he got the hit to beat us tonight. But
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to football season, both college and the NFL. I'm excited. This next month and a half or so is going to be a blast.
Yeah, and Wright State Club football too. I mean, it's football all fall long. I'm so hyped. But yeah, I feel like this is the most excited I've been about a Bengals team in probably 3 or 4 years, which doesn't feel like a long time, but I don't know. I think Joe Burrow has a chance to be a Pro Bowler if he can stay healthy. I think Joe Mixon's going to have a bounce back year because they finally got rid of Jim Turner, their tool of an offensive line head coach. One of, I think, the best receiving cores in the league already in Boyd, Higgins, and Chase. I don't know if you saw the video today of the Bengals at training camp. You probably didn't, but Joe Burrow throws this deep ball down the sideline, and Jamar Chase just sticks his hand out. Joe Burrow kind of missed it a little bit. The ball was probably about 3 yards over Chase's head, but Chase just one hand palms it and grabs it in stride. I'm just like, Jamar Chase could be Justin Jefferson last year as a rookie became a top 10 receiver in the NFL. I could see a very similar kind of storyline from Jamar Chase. And I'm not just saying that because the Bengals drafted him. I think if he went to Philly, if he went to Miami, wherever Jamar Chase ended up, I thought he had a chance to be a superstar in year one.
Yeah, I think he did too. I've said this all along. I was on the Penny Sewell train for to Cincinnati, but Mike Brown and Zach Taylor and company think that Chase is going to be the guy, and I'm not an NFL GM, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. So more power to him. So
and they now have the offensive firepower with Uzama and Boyd and Higgins and Chase and Mixon and Burrow. If that offensive line is average, this team averages 30 points a game, and it's a top 10 offense in the NFL. It's that good.
Really?
Yeah, it's the baby Chiefs, man.
Okay, don't do that. Don't.
Higgins, Boyd,
You're no,
Higgins,
no,
Boyd, and
no,
Chase.
no, no. Stop talking before you get yourself in trouble.
No, hear me out.
You're
Okay,
walking down. You're walking down a dangerous road here.
Tyler Boyd, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. T. Higgins, as a rookie last year, almost. I gotta double check the stats, but I think he's projected for like 1,200 yards this year. And Jamar Chase, as a rookie, is projected for 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns. I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm just saying you put Boyd in the slot, you have Chase and Higgins on the outside. You can't double team anybody, and then you're so worried about those three that you can't put 7 guys in the box. And Joe Mixon used to, 2 years ago, Joe Mixon led the AFC in rushing. I'm just saying this offense has the potential to be probably the third best offense in the AFC behind the Chiefs and the Bills. I think it could be better than the Browns.
Wow.
I said potential. I didn't say they will. I said potential.
Okay. Well,
We
I
got to
don't
hit
know
a
how to.
break so you can
I don't.
digest that.
I don't know how to respond to that.
We got to hit a break anyway so you can digest that for a few minutes.
Okay, I'm okay. I need that.
When we come back, it's MLB trade deadline week, and we're going to talk about one move that we think every MLB team should do during deadline week. So make sure you keep it locked. Keep it real. I almost said on the horizon. That tells you how close we're getting to being back to fall. But on the horizon resumes here in just a few moments. Let me make sure that I get our graphic pulled up. All right, we are good. I stalled for time, and now we're good to go. All right, we're stepping away. Top of the hour break. We'll be back in just a few. Keep it locked. Keep it real. We'll see you right after this. Hour number 2 of Keep It Real right here on WWSU 106.9 FM and our YouTube channel. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on this Tuesday afternoon. I don't understand how you can think that my thought of the Bengals potentially having a top 10 offense in the NFL is more insane than you thinking they're going to come second in the division.
Top 10, I understand, but you said potentially top 3.
In the AFC. I said top 3 in the AFC. I said Chiefs, Bills, and they could be fighting with the Browns for third.
I don't think they'll be top 3 in the AFC.
I don't think they will either. I think that's their ceiling. I think teams I can name off the top of my head that I think have a better offense than the Bengals: Buccaneers, Ravens, Browns, Bills, Chiefs, Rams. Do I say Falcons? I don't know. I feel like the Falcons and Bengals are on the same level. I'll say Falcons because they have more experience. Packers. Colts, Titans. That's 10. I think they're already kind of a fringe top 10 just on paper.
Yeah.
They're somewhere between 10 and 15, in my opinion, on paper.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. But of course, this is all just talk.
Yeah.
We don't know, but
right. Higgins could hit a sophomore slump. Burrow could never look the same off a leg injury, and Jamar Chase could be a bust. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough for me. On paper, they look fantastic.
They do.
And
on paper, I totally understand why they took Jamar Chase, because he makes them just such an absolutely lethal offense. Where, like I said, if that offensive line can be average, Joe Burrow can put up MVP numbers with those weapons.
He could, and I'm really excited to see what the Bengals come out and do. Are they going to be, the same old Bengals where they win 6 or 7 games and miss playoffs? Or are they going to come out and surprise a lot of people? Are they going to, win 10, 11 games, make the playoffs maybe? Who knows? And they're one of the teams that can either be really good or not so good. So I don't know with the Bengals. I don't.
I think they're a year away from the playoffs. I think they'll win like 8 or 9. I think they win like 8 games this year, and I think they win like 10, 11 next year, and they make the playoffs. I think they're still 1 year away, but they're close. But everyone talks about the offense with Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. But their defense, not bad at all. They have Trey Waynes, who missed all of last season with an injury. They lost William Jackson, but they bring in Chidobe Awuzie. I like that signing a lot. He's not as good as William Jackson, but I say, so here's my thought process. Jackson was better than Awuzie, so that's a downgrade at cornerback 1. But the duo of Awuzie and Waynes, who didn't play last year, is better than the duo of Jackson and Darius Phillips that did play last year. So I think even though they don't have a better number 1 corner, their top 2 is better than the 2 from last year. Their safeties are great. Bates is one of the best in the league. Von Bell is a very strong, very solid, strong safety. And I like their defensive line a lot, bringing in Larry Ogunjobi, having DJ Reader, and then Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson. Sam Hubbard just got a contract extension. Trey Hendrickson had like 15 sacks for the Saints last year. I think that defensive line has a chance to be really good. Their secondary has a chance to be really good. The X factor on defense is the linebackers. They have 3 really young guys, I should say, and Akeem Davis-Gaither, Logan Wilson, and Jermaine Pratt. If 2 of those guys can be solid this year, I think it's a chance to be a really solid defense. I'm not going to say a top 10 defense because I don't even think they'll get there. But I think it could be a league average defense with that offense. If it's a league average defense and then that offense hits its potential, it could be a playoff team. It could. I mean, the makeup's there. There's still question marks that have to be answered on the field. But it's definitely a way more exciting team than the Bengals have put out there the last couple of years.
Yeah, I get that, and I'm with the Colts. For me, their defense is going to be good. We know that. The offense is the bigger question, and especially with Carson Wentz. Of course, you re-signed T.Y. Hilton. This wide receiver room, I'm really excited for. You got Hilton as your one, Pittman's your two. They're getting Paris Campbell back. Hopefully, he is going to stay on the field this year. Of course, his career has been kind of ravaged with injuries, but and then you have Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox. You draft what's that guy's name? Dang it! You draft Kylan Granson out of SMU.
Mm-hmm.
This tight end room looks really strong, and then of course you have what I think is top 5 running back room in football in Mack, in Taylor, in Nyheim Hines, in Jordan Wilkins. So you have a strong running back room here. So the defense, I love this secondary. Xavier Rhodes is going to be your one. Kenny Moore is your slot guy. The guy I'm really looking forward to seeing come out and play is Rocky Sin. I thought he was a good pick when they drafted him, but he hasn't been great. So he needs to have a big year here. I loved what the Colts did in the draft. Kwity Paye, I loved. And then they drafted the other end in the second round. But yeah, I'm excited to see what the Colts do. This is, this is how I watch football when it comes to the Colts, Shay. If something really good happens, things are great. Couldn't be better. I'm loving it. If something really bad happens, I get mad. Fire Reich. It's over. We're done. Rebuild again.
Sounds like me watching the Reds.
That's how I operate with the Colts, and it drives my family insane when on Sundays in the fall when I'm watching Colts football, because when things are really good, they're awesome. When things are bad, they are terrible, and get rid of everybody. But yeah, I'm so excited for football season.
Yeah, no, me too. Before we get into this trade deadline talk, I thought you'd want to know Shohei Ohtani's final stat line just came in for tonight. 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run, no walks, 5 strikeouts. 5 strikeouts, yeah, that's not his best night in terms of punching guys out, but 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, no walks. I mean, just another Showtime night at the ballpark.
Yeah, and the Angels, I'm really wanting to see get hot. I really do. I really want them to see.
Shohei. I want to see a world. My selfish self wants to see a World Series game with DeGrom versus Ohtani.
That would be fun. So it would be so much fun. I really want to see the Angels make the playoffs. I really do. Not only for Mike Trout, but I just want to see the Angels do well.
You want your prediction to be right.
Huh?
You want your prediction to be right. You picked the Angels to make the playoffs.
I do, and part of me wants that to be right so bad. But I'm probably going to be wrong. I always am. I'm probably going to be wrong about the Bengals. I'll probably be wrong about
I'm going to tell you now you're going to be wrong about it. They're not coming in second. I could see them coming in third. I think they could be better than Pittsburgh, but they're not coming higher than Baltimore or Cleveland.
I don't think they're higher than Cleveland, but
Cleveland wins the division, and I think they're better than Pittsburgh. But the thing is, Baltimore's the Bengals' dads, so the Bengals can't beat the Ravens. Lamar Jackson. Have you seen any Lamar Jackson highlight ever? Yeah, it was against the Bengals.
Yeah. So this is interesting. I don't know. All I know is we're gonna have a fun fall.
Oh yeah. No doubt about it. I mean, the pennant race is starting in freaking July. Love it. But let's get into this. what each team should do at the deadline, Parker. This is an MLB.com article, but I want to do a little bit of MLB trade deadline throughout the week since it's deadline week. Andrew Chafin got traded to the A's a little bit earlier tonight. Really solid left-handed reliever from the Cubs. Had like a 2.07 ERA this year. He's not Josh Hader, but he's a lefty that gets outs, and that's very valuable for a lot of contending teams.
Yeah. And, that's this trade deadline is going to be fun. Chafin's going to be great. But the stars is what I'm looking for. Where's Story going? Where's Scherzer going, if anywhere?
How about the Cubs guys?
Yeah. Where's Baez? Where's Bryant? Where's Kimbrel going? Maybe Rizzo. Who knows? This is going to be a fun one. Who's going to buy? Who's going to sell? I think we have a relative idea of who that's going to be, but no one knows until July 30th. So it's going to be a fun week.
Let's start with the Jays. Use financial flexibility to create an impact beyond 2021. The Blue Jays are in a good spot. They have a young core, veteran talent, a strong farm system, and flexibility on their payroll. It's where they've been working to get to and where other clubs would like to be. With contracts coming off the books next season, really only tying themselves to Springer and Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette, not even into arbitration yet, the Blue Jays have the ability to take on contracts that other clubs might not be able to, such as Max Scherzer. This could open up more possibilities, including the starting pitching front. This Blue Jays team is built to win in 2022 and beyond. So while traditional rentals aren't totally off the table, the Jays can use their financial strength to improve the organization as a whole for a long-term reign of terror. I totally agree. I think the biggest mistake the Blue Jays could make is putting too much into this year. The Blue Jays have a chance to be really good for 5-6 years. It'd be great to win this year, but you're going up against Boston, Tampa Bay, potentially still New York, Chicago, who looks really good. They just got Eloy Jimenez back tonight. I just don't think it's not Toronto's year yet. So I don't want to see them give up a lot of top prospects for rentals on relievers and starters that are only going to be there for 2 months, maybe get them to the wild card game, and then they come up short, and then they're kind of, they took a step back. I'd love to see them either kind of sit still and maybe make a move this offseason for a guy that has multiple years of control. I'd love to see something like, a Ketel Marte, something like that. But if they are going to make a move at the deadline, I want it to be for somebody that, they have multiple years of flexibility with. And that could be somebody like Jose Ramirez. That could be somebody like, it could be something even as simple as just getting an extension done with Marcus Semien. I think getting Marcus Semien, a 3-4 year extension is honestly probably a more valuable move than anything they could do at the deadline. So I think the most important thing for the Jays is just don't panic.
Yeah, and they have the talent. That they're one of the 3 teams in the running for this division, and that's the Red Sox, the Jays, and the Rays. So I like this Jays team. I do. They have, like this says, they have that young core, but they also have veterans. They have Springer, they have Ryu, guys like that. But they also have those young guys, Guerrero, Bichette, among others. So this is going to be interesting to say the least for the Blue Jays. They need help in their rotation, but do we see them go after Scherzer? I would love to see Scherzer in Toronto. I think he'd play well there. So this is going to be fun for the Blue Jays.
It is. Let's move on to the Orioles. Obviously, the Orioles are going to sell. They're rebuilding, but the rebuilding Orioles will listen on anyone and have 3 big trade chips in Cedric Mullins, John Means, and Trey Mancini. You could argue, though, that each brings more value to the Orioles than they would to any other club. So the Orioles, what they should do at the deadline, keep Trey Mancini and sign him to an extension. Mancini has had a productive year with 16 home runs. He's the unquestioned club leader and face of the franchise. He's not a rental, but not a long-term solution either. Mancini is on record expressing his desire to stay in Baltimore and to start winning soon. Rutschman and other top prospects are on the way. The Orioles should sign Mancini long term, grow into a contender, and make sure he's a part of it.
Yeah, I want to see this with the Orioles. I want to see him do well. Brandon Hyde hasn't had a great tenure in Baltimore, granted, because he hasn't had great teams.
I will give him partial credit, though, even though it's never reflected in the record. Cedric Mullins was not a good player before he got there. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the hitting coach. I don't know if Cedric Mullins just figured it out. But sometime during the tenure of Brandon Hyde, Cedric Mullins turned into maybe the best leadoff hitter in baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, he has. And, like he said, they have these top prospects such as Rutschman. And then they have Mullins, Means, and Mancini, who are their three big names right now. Do we see Mullins go somewhere else? I don't think so. I think if anybody gets traded, I think it's Means, and I don't think he will either.
I still think Mancini's the most likely of the three. I could see the Orioles sitting still and holding on to all three of those guys.
I think that's the more likely scenario, is they hold on to all three and not do a whole lot here.
I think the Orioles are trying to build their own three guys: Rutschman, Mullins, and Means. I think those are the three guys they say the next time we're talking about the Orioles in the playoffs, those are the three guys that are going to be the faces of the team.
Yeah, and
Rutschman's going to be there in September. Rutschman's coming really fast.
Yeah, and I honestly don't know what we're going to see from the Orioles, but they're rebuilding and they're using their farm system, so they're going to have guys coming up here soon, and I think they'll make a difference.
Let's get to some contenders, shall we, Parker? Tampa Bay, trade for Charlie Morton. The small market Rays would probably have to move around some money to realistically acquire Morton after taking Nelson Cruz's contract, but their front office is creative and deep. Cruz is already set to transform the middle of their lineup and take some of the pressure off of younger hitters such as Arozarena, Meadows, and Wander Franco. Tampa Bay has plenty of depth, so much that they traded away Rich Hill, so it's probably not worth making a deal for a starter unless it's a significant upgrade. Morton would be just that if the Braves are willing to move him. Bringing back Morton would provide the Rays with a big game pitcher, somebody who's already comfortable in that clubhouse, and significant insurance. This is a big thing. Significant insurance for their injured star, Tyler Glasnow. Glasnow's supposed to be back in September, but that's a very sensitive elbow injury. And if this Rays team wants to make some noise in the playoffs, you got to have a backup plan for Glasnow.
You do. And, they have, really strong players, like you said, Arozarena, Meadows, Franco, and then they just got Nelson Cruz. So their offense isn't an issue. It's their pitching that needs some work. And Charlie Morton's gonna bring that if they're able to get him. Of course, you have, you got plenty of depth. You just sent Rich Hill away, but they need another starter.
They do.
And I want them to kind of find I want them to find a solid lefty. They need a solid lefty. I think Morton's fantastic. He would bring something great to your rotation, but I want to see him bring in somebody who's consistent. And the Rays need consistency. They don't have a whole lot of that in their rotation.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to the Red Sox. How about this one, Parker? Time to bring back Rizzo. Given that the Adrian Gonzalez trade didn't really pan out for the Red Sox really should have never traded Rizzo, a promising handed slugger taken by Boston in the 6th round of the 2007 draft. He's gone on to have a solid career, hitting 240 home runs. It's time for Rizzo to come back to his original franchise. The Red Sox have a glaring need for some production at first base from a left-handed hitter. It could be a no-strings-attached deal. Rizzo's a free agent at the end of the year. The Red Sox could offer up Dahlbeck, Chavis, or Franchy Cordero along with some young pitching. None of those three sluggers have panned out yet in the majors, but perhaps a change of scenery would help. It's time to bring Rizzo back to Beantown.
I like this one.
I do. Rizzo's perfect for Fenway Park, too.
Yeah, and I want to see this one. I really do. I like it a lot. Dahlbeck's been pretty solid for the Red Sox, but I want to
Dahlbeck's
see.
a good defender, but he doesn't hit the way they need him to hit.
Yeah, I want to see Rizzo in Boston. That'd be so much fun.
And Boston's got the kind of money where, I mean, they could probably offer him a pretty good contract after the year anyway to try and keep him.
Yeah, they could. If they can pull this off, go for it. Because Rizzo would bring something to Boston that I think they have power there with Devers, but Rizzo in a short right field, he would go off at Fenway.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, for, it feels like 2-3 years now, especially ever since Mookie got traded. When you talk about the Red Sox, the first player that pops in my head as their best player is Xander Bogaerts. It still probably is, but Rafael Devers is getting really freaking close. I mean, he is unbelievable, leading the league in RBIs. He only hits like 285, but if you've seen how hard he hits the ball and how clutch that dude is, I mean, like, good Lord. And he's still only like 25 years old, Parker. Like, he's still a baby. Like, Rafi Devers might win a couple MVPs in his career before it's all said and done.
I think he will. He's that good. I'm loving what Rafi Devers is doing. I was at Fenway, last week when they whooped up on the Yankees and Devers hit 2 bombs.
Remember when
And
he hit like he had a really good rookie year, and then like his second year, he like started the year hitting like 220 for like 2 months, and everyone said he was a bust, and the DFA him or trade him or whatever. I mean, it's a good thing the Sox were patient with him because good Lord, did he turn into a real, and even defensively, he was such a liability at third base his first 2 years in the league. He's not Nolan Arenado or anything, but he's pretty solid now at third base. He's gotten so much better.
he has, and it's a fun team. The Red Sox are fun.
It's the best left side of the infield in baseball. You don't get any better than Bogarts and Devers.
You don't. This next one's interesting to me, Shay. Yankees
Yankees.
trade for Joey Gallo. This says the Ranger slugger is under team control through 2022, so Gallo could help to answer next year's lingering questions as well as the ones that affect current Yankees outfield. Aaron Judge has been the Yankees' most valuable offensive player, but the rest of the mix has been a hodgepodge following injuries to Frazier and Hicks, forcing Brett Gardner to log many more stats than originally planned for. Gallo would add a potent left-handed bat to a lineup that is far too right-handed dominant for a team that plays 81 games at Yankee Stadium. And his I can't read. His wow. How common he draws walks would fit right into the quote unquote savages mindset that manager Aaron Boone loves.
I'm torn on this one, man, because I see exactly where they're coming from, and I think Gallo's just the perfect lab built player for Yankee Stadium. Hits moonshots, draws walks, left-handed, strong arm. Like, Joey Gallo was born to play in Yankee Stadium. I get it. He would be such a good player for the Yankees. But the Yankees would have to give up like all of their top prospects not named Jason Dominguez to get Joey Gallo. And I don't know if it's worth tearing up your farm system for a team that's probably not going to go anywhere this year. Even if they revive themselves from the dead and make the playoffs, I don't see them getting through Boston, Chicago, and Houston. And are you really going to give up, 2-3 top prospects for a year and a half of Gallo? And then can you afford him? Because you have Stanton's contract, you have Cole's contract, and you're going to have to play Glaber and Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I don't know with this one.
So I'd love to see it as a baseball fan. I'd love to see Gallo. I mean, I don't know. I hate the Yankees. I'd love to see Gallo in Yankee Stadium. I'd hate to see Gallo play well for the Yankees. That's kind of how I'm wording it. But I think it's just a bad idea for the Yankees long term. I think, yeah, it's the sexy move that it gets Yankees fans excited about. Oh my God, we're going to save the season. we got Joey Gallo. But if it doesn't work, you look back at this and you say this trade screwed up the entire future of the Yankees.
Yeah, and what is that future? We don't know.
Is it Cashman's final hurrah?
Yeah, and if you go out with a bang, there's none other.
Getting Gallo is quite the way to go out.
Right, and there's not much better ways to leave your job than to trading for one of the MLB's best sluggers. But I don't know about this one. I don't. It's tough for the Yankees. Yeah,
it is.
I would I would love to see Gallo in New York. Like you said, I hate the Yankees, but it'd be interesting. I don't think this happens, but it'd be interesting for sure.
It would be. We're quickly running out of time today. We have about 25 minutes left of today's show. So what we're going to do today is we're going to finish the American League. And since I want to do trade deadline talk every day this week, we'll do the National League tomorrow. So, and I'm excited for that because I peeked. I don't know if you saw, but I peeked at the Reds one. It's one you're not going to like, but it's one that I like. So we're gonna have fun with that. But we'll finish the American League today. We'll do the National League tomorrow. But let's get to the American League Central. The Indians, it's trade a middle infielder. The Indians are always always looking for ways to build for the future and beyond. The trade deadline's been a prime time for them to do just that. They moved Trevor Bauer and Mike Clevenger at the last two deadlines. This time, the biggest area of depth is probably middle infield. Second baseman Cesar Hernandez sits atop of the list to move. He's hitting 224, but he has 16 home runs. They could also trade guys like Ahmed Rosario, Andres Jimenez, Owen Miller, and even because they're number 2 overall prospect, Tyler Freeman's getting close to being ready. I understand that mindset, but I'm going to kind of word it my way. I think what they should do at the deadline, if I'm being 100% honest, is trade Jose Ramirez. They waited too long to trade Lindor and didn't get what they should have gotten for him. If you trade Jose Ramirez right now, you get like 3 top 100 prospects. And the Indians, Guardians, whatever you want to call them, they're not going anywhere with the White Sox in that division for a while. And, the Tigers and Royals are coming up fast. And I don't think the Twins are this basement dweller yet. So this team, this roster, they're not going anywhere. So what I think you do right now, you get Jose Ramirez while his value is at an all-time high, and you kickstart this rebuild with, one of the bigger trades in recent memory.
Yeah. The Indians are interesting right now. It seems like they're around. Like they're like the, this is a
the Reds of the AL.
This is a terrible analogy, but they're like the lingering cold that kind of won't go away, that you have for 2 or 3 weeks. It was bad. I told you it was bad.
No, I just mean the lingering cold for 2 weeks. I've had bad memories of that. So yeah, brutal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I understand. But yeah, they somehow, I don't know, they trade Lindor. They send off they send off Carrasco, but somehow they're still winning, kind of. I don't know. Tristan McKenzie's been really good for Cleveland, but
and Bieber's obviously a god,
right? And so it's tough. I don't know. Middle infield is certainly something that they desperately need after getting rid of Lindor, but yeah, the Indians, they need all the help they can get.
Yeah. Royals trade Whit Merrifield. Is this the year the Merrifield trade rumors become reality? The Royals are adamant that they expect to contend next season. Trading Merrifield, one of their more versatile defenders and a reliable leadoff hitter, would send a different message. But maybe after seeing how quickly this season turned from hopes of contention to another development year, the Royals would benefit in 2023 and 2024 from acquiring prospects for Merrifield now. A team like Seattle has a clear need for Merrifield, which, by the way, we talked about that yesterday. I love the idea of Merrifield with the Mariners. He's under contract through 2022 with a team option in 2023. Seattle has the kind of prospects to make it happen. The Royals could use a steady reliever and an everyday center fielder, and then next year they can continue to grow their young talent before making a real push in 2023. It's tough for me because, I mean, they still have Bobby Witt, and Bobby Witt looks like he's going to be a stud. The Royals are close, but I see what they're saying. It might not be next year close. It might be the year after. And you could get some really good prospects for Merrifield's contract. And Seattle's the kind of team that has the prospects to make it a really good deal. And Seattle looks really good right now. They're closing in on Oakland for second place. And if they get Whit Merrifield to be their leadoff hitter, I mean, with Kelnick, with Evan White, Kyle Seager, Mitch Haniger, Dylan Moore, you have Julio Rodriguez still chilling in AAA. That Mariners team just seems to get better and better by the day.
They do, and they're fun. Scott Service has done really well. They started out hot. They kind of fell back to earth a little bit, but they're picking up steam again. And that Mariners team is fun. Do we see Whit? I think Whit Merrifield is a perfect fit for Seattle. I know we talked about that a little bit.
I agree.
Yesterday. But middle infielder, do we see him go to Cleveland?
It's possible. It's definitely possible. It's always rare to see interdivision trades, especially during the season. It's why I'm not holding my breath for the Reds to get Craig Kimbrell. Even though I'd love to have Craig Kimbrell. I don't think the Cubs would trade their best pitcher to the Reds. It's like trading Chris Bryant to the Cardinals. It's not happening. But I think that Merrifield's a perfect fit in Seattle. And I know that Kansas City fans adore Whit Merrifield. But, I mean, it might be the right time to let him go. You still have Mondesi, you still have Nicky Lopez, and you get a chance for some of your prospects to kind of get a chance to play. And hey, worst case scenario, if Mondesi or Lopez don't work out, you have Bobby Witt Jr., who hit like 380 with like 8 home runs in spring training this year. So, I mean, he looks like, the Tatis of the AL. So, the future in Kansas City is very bright. And if you can get a couple pitchers for Whit Merrifield and, stock up that farm system even more, they could be the next Seattle.
They could. Tigers trade Jonathan Scope. Interest has been light with so many other hitters available around the league, but even for a potentially small return, it may remain a logical move. Scope said last week he'd like to stay with the Tigers long term, which is a testament for the team's direction. But he's headed to free agency and hired Scott Boras as the agent earlier this year. With emotions and fan sentiment might suggest keeping Scope. The smart play for 22 and beyond is to find the best trade possible, add a prospect, get more playing time to evaluate Isaac Paredes and even Cody Clemens down the stretch. Then revisit Scope's situation in free agency, a tactic that teams in similar situations have executed with pending free agents in years past. The Tigers are red hot right now. And why? I have no idea. But they are, and they're fun. It's an interesting situation in Detroit.
It is. I mean, the Tigers have been really good as of late, but I don't think they're going to buy by any means. They're not catching the White Sox, and they're not catching the Rays and the A's for the wild card. But it is exciting for the future of the Detroit Tigers. They look like they're finally starting to turn the corner a little bit. Casey Mize has been really, really good this year. He looks like the number 1 overall pick, the number 1 prospect that everyone thought he was. Tariq Skubal even is starting to pick up some steam. Akil Baddoo, what a pickup he's been. Victor Reyes is coming into his own. Even old man Miggy Cabrera still got some hacks left in him. He had another home run today. Scopes had quite the year. And a guy that they're still waiting on, the first overall pick from last year, Spencer Torkelson. So the future for the Tigers, very, very bright. But Scopes on the wrong side of 30. He's had a really good year, but Jonathan Scope's not going to be your everyday second baseman by the time the Tigers are back in the playoffs. So it only makes sense to trade him now when he's had one of the better years of his career. It's been a cool story, but this just makes sense for both parties. Scout gets a chance to play for a team that's got a chance to win a World Series, and the Tigers get good value for a guy that they signed to kind of a prove it deal.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting situation, and I want to see what Scope does or what the Tigers do with Scope. Like you said, he's on the older side. His best role is kind of a utility every third or fourth day kind of guy now. But it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, let's get to the Minnesota Twins. I love this one personally. Don't trade Jose Barrios. With Nelson Cruz already at the door, Michael Pineda, Hansel Robles, and Andrelton Simmons possible to follow him in the recent report that the Twins couldn't come to terms with Byron Buxton on an extension. The Twins will have a lot of retooling to do this offseason and at the deadline if they hope to make another division push in 2022. That starts with the pitching staff, which has been the biggest disappointment of the year, and will see considerable attention with departures following the year. If the Twins trade away Barrios, their already formidable task will grow even tougher. Consider also that the Twins will likely be seeking a return ready to impact the majors, and the uncertainties around last season's COVID-19 pandemic could make contenders more hesitant to part ways with MLB depth, more valuable this season than ever. Even if the Twins can't work out an extension with Barrios, they'll be able to ride his arm next season and see what happens, and the right-hander would still likely fetch a good return at the deadline next year if things don't work out next season. I like this move a lot. This is very similar to how I feel with the Blue Jays. I know that the Twins have had a rough year. Nothing's gone right. They stink. They're in the basement. Nothing's going well. I get trading Cruz. He was on an expiring deal. I get trading, guys like Andrelton Simmons and Michael Pineda on expiring deals. But I totally agree with what was just said. I still think the Twins have the talent and the capabilities to compete with the White Sox. I think they're the second best team in this division when everything goes well. And Jose Barrios is their best arm. And although everything's gone wrong this season, I don't think that means you hit the reset button. I think that means, you just kind of deal with the butt kicking you're taking this year. You reset in December and you come back in spring training ready to be a playoff team again. And I think if this Twins team wants to be a playoff team, they got to have Jose Barrios. So I 100% agree with this. I know there's a lot of teams out there that want Barrios, but I think in the best interest for the Twins, you got to hang on to him.
You do. And, as much as that breaks the heart of teams that need starting pitching, you can't give up a guy like this who's been really one of your bright spots. They send off Cruz and Simmons, possibly. Both guys, like you said, on expiring deals, which makes sense. But you got to have Barrios around if you want to have any leverage in trades. Like you said, or like they said, he can still be a solid option next year.
Right.
You got to keep him around if you're the Twins, because Farako Baldelli, he's like the one guy that you have consistency with.
And 100% like that said, worst case scenario, they go into the season next year trying to make the playoffs. And if it doesn't go according to plan again and they're not very good, you trade Barrios next year. You still get a really good package of prospects for him because he's still a really good pitcher.
Right. And it's a tough situation for sure. I don't know what the Twins are going to do personally. I think
I'd trade everyone who's a free agent after the year and hang on to everyone who will be on the team next year. You don't want to if you want to make the playoffs next year like they keep saying they do, you don't rebuild the entire roster. You can't do that and expect to win.
No. And I think that they're not going to blow it all up this year. If they're in a similar situation next year where not much has gone right and they don't have a lot to kind of, go on, maybe that's when they kind of, hit the reset button. But yeah, I don't think they should do this at all.
No. Let's get to the White Sox. This one's fun because we always thought the White Sox were linked to Adam Frazier. Obviously, he's in San Diego. So now they need a second baseman. Nick Madrigal's out for the year. I think their two best options now could come from their own division, Parker, and that's Jonathan Scope with the Tigers and the guy that they talk about here, trade for Whit Merrifield. I think this is a great fit. The White Sox looking for a second baseman and bullpen assistance. The original plan was to acquire Adam Frazier and Richard Rodriguez from the Pirates. That idea was squelched when Frazier was traded to the Padres. So why not go after one of the most talented players available in Whit Merrifield? He's under control through 2022 with a club option and can play the outfield if Madrigal comes back healthy next season. The issue for the White Sox is what Merrifield would require to acquire. The AL Central leaders aren't giving up high-end reliever future starter Michael Kopech or current left fielder Andrew Vaughn. So would they actually have a talent group to entice the Royals? This team needs to add somehow in both areas mentioned above, even if this idea doesn't come to fruition. That is going to be the tough part. The Royals are going to want a lot for Whit Merrifield, and I just think that, the Mariners have more potential to offer a better deal than the White Sox do. But this makes a lot of sense for the White Sox to want a guy like Merrifield. What I think could happen is because the Mariners have better prospects, they end up with Merrifield, and we could see the White Sox go after a guy like Scope.
Yeah. White Sox don't need anything, to be honest. They're really good. But they need some help. They need some help in the bullpen. That's evident. And with losing Madrigal, they could use a second baseman, but they're still the favorites for this division. And this one's fun. If they get Merrifield, the White Sox are on a tear.
If they get Merrifield, I think they pass Houston and Boston for best team in the AL.
I think so too. They're tough. They're tough already. They have great starting pitching with Keuchel, Rodon,
and they just got Eloy back tonight, and they get Robert back in like 2 weeks. So let's run down this mock lineup. They would have Merrifield, Moncada, Abreu, Jimenez, Robert, Grandal, Tim Anderson. Who am I forgetting? Right field. Angle, not Angle. When Angle, who is it when he's healthy? I don't know. We'll say Adam Angle. But whatever. And then DH Andrew Vaughn. So you have, 8 out of those 9 guys are above average hitters. So that's a really good offense. And then obviously the rich get richer. They have Liam Hendricks and Aaron Bummer in the bullpen, and then the big 3 of Giolito, Lynn, and Rodon.
Yeah. AL West, Angels extend Alex Cobb. The Angels appear to likely to sell and closer Raisel Iglesias as their best chip. There is also interest in veteran right-hander Alex Cobb. The Angels, though, should hold on to Cobb and try to work out an extension as they need starting pitching going forward, and he's been a good fit. Cobb has been reunited with Joe Madden, who was also his manager with the Rays early in his career and has turned it around this season after a slow start. Cobb has posted a 3.82 ERA in 15 starts, including a 1.09 ERA over 4 outings in July. I like this one. I want to see the Angels be more buyers. I do. I think I like the idea of extending Cobb, but they need more than that.
That's how I feel too. I feel like if you're planning your future around Alex Cobb being the number 2 to Shohei Ohtani, it's not going to go well. I'm fine with giving Cobb 2-3 year extension for, him being the number 4 or whatever in your rotation. What I really want to see the Angels do, if they're serious about being a playoff team this year, get Scherzer, get Means, get Boyd, get Barrios, get somebody that it's like, okay, we're playing with gas now. We're fighting for a playoff spot, and we've got Ohtani and Scherzer. We've got Ohtani and Barrios. We've got Ohtani and Boyd. Give me something to believe in this team.
Right. They need bullpen help badly. Sure, Raisel Iglesias is very good. There's no doubt about it. But They want, like you said, they want Cobb to be the 2 behind Otani. They still have Bundy, who's meh. But I think they need another starter really badly. And it would help to get bullpen help. But if you can get a start, I would much rather have a decent starter over a quality reliever.
Let's get to the Astros. Trade for Craig Kimbrell. If the Cubs are willing to deal Kimbrell, the Astros should be at the front of the line if they aren't already. Sure, there's a case to be made to add a starting pitcher, but a reliever with Kimbrell's track record would immediately revamp their bullpen from a weakness to a strength. Kimbrell and all-star closer Ryan Pressly could give the Astros one of the best back-end bullpen combos in baseball and set them up nicely for the playoffs, where relief pitching and closing out games is magnified. Pedro Baez should be off the IL as well very soon. The Astros entered Sunday tied for the best record in the American League, and that's even with Bregman on the injured list. They're in a great position to make another run at the World Series. Adding Kimbrell would make Houston's the favorites in the AL. I love this one. Not an Astros fan by any means, but this does make the Astros the team to beat in the American League. Pressly's been really good as a closer for the Astros, but if you have Pressly in the 8th, you have Pedro Baez in the 7th, Ryan Pressly in the 8th, and Kimbrell in the 9th, you're running out Valdez and McCullers and, whatever for 6 innings, and you have those 3 locking it down. It's good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one for me because, like you said, if they get Kimbrell, if they aren't already, they're the favorites in the AL. This Astros team, like you said, they have Pedro Baez. He should be coming back soon. If they get Scherzer, it gets game over. But
I feel like the one thing the Astros have always been missing, though, on those playoff teams, it feels like it's a team that's always had to outscore the other team. And I know that's how you win in baseball. I get that. But I mean a sense where it felt like their offense always had to outplay the other team's offense. What they never really did was win close, low-scoring games with a dominant bullpen. And if they get Kimbrell, Pressly and Kimbrell Pressly's already probably a top 10 reliever in the league. And you throw in Kimbrell, and like I said, that's probably better than Bummer and Hendricks. That's probably better than Devin Williams and Josh Hader. That's probably the best 1-2 punch out of any bullpen in the league.
It's possible, and they're already pretty good, but like this says, Jim Crane's going to be all in.
Oh yeah, he's a dude that loves to see the Astros win.
He does. The A's trade for Joey Gallo. This is another one that's fun. It's unclear whether or not the Rangers are ready to part ways with Gallo, but if they are, might be a better fit for the All-Star slugger than Oakland. The A's have been sluggish on offense since coming back from the All-Star break, entering Sunday with the 3rd fewest runs scored at 30 in the American League during the second half. They've received very low production from the designated hitter and right field spots, both spots Gallo could fill. Not only would Gallo provide a potent bat in the middle of the order to form a dynamic duo with fellow All-Star Matt Olson, but his left-handed bat would also bring more balance to a righty-heavy A's lineup. If they wanted to catch the Astros and repeat as AL West champions to avoid another dreaded wildcard scenario in the postseason, Gallo might be just what they need to do that. Yeah. This one's fun.
Mm-hmm.
For an A's team who has sluggers like Olson, as well as a few other guys, Gallo could be fun. I know we talked about him with the Yankees, a lefty in this lineup. Another spot that Gallo might be good is Boston, and that's one that I just pulled out of the clouds. But Gallo would be fun at Fenway, especially with that short right field fence. That would be fun. But in Oakland, they need productive hitters. And Matt Olson is one of those. And Elvis Andres is somewhat consistent as well. But Gallo and Oakland would be a lot of fun.
It would. We'll do on tomorrow's show our actual free or trade deadline predictions, where I will bring a list of all the top superstar names that are most likely to get moved, and we'll make predictions on if they go and if they're traded, where they go. My prediction, I will spoil this because I think it plays into what I'm going to say here. My prediction for the A's, their big move that I think they're going to make at the deadline is getting Javier Baez. So I think that their biggest priority right now is to get an impact bat. But I feel like that also would knock out two birds with one stone, where they also need more production at a shortstop. So Baez gives them an impact bat, and he's also an upgraded shortstop. So I think that's the direction I think they end up going. But you're absolutely right. If they pull Gallo, I mean, Gallo and Olsen in Oko is ridiculous.
The Mariners don't just keep Mitch Haniger, extend him.
I am 100% on board with this.
I am too. With 30 potential homer potential, Haniger would immediately be a force in any lineup. Add in the fact that he's earning a very affordable $3.1 million this season that has a final year of arbitration eligibility for 22, and his value on the market soars even further. Yet a legitimate argument can be made that for the rest of this season and next, no team would benefit from having Haniger more than Seattle, who are in postseason contention thanks to a huge part of Haniger's production. He's also the most veteran player on one of the major's youngest teams other than Kyle Seager, who will also most certainly be gone next year. Despite the prospect reports raving about the perceived surplus of outfield potential that the Mariners have for the long term with Kelenic, Rodriguez, Lewis, and more, the talent is mostly unproven at the big league level. Haniger is 30 years old and a one-time All-Star, and in part due to his injuries, he's has amassed just $7.1 million in career earnings. So any multi-year offer in the 10 to 15 million per year range would certainly get his attention. General Manager Jerry Dipoto has said that this offseason will be the one that Seattle spends, and the club only has a little bit more than $53 million on the books for 22 per cost baseball contracts. So why not hang it on to Haniger? Show the clubhouse that the management is committed to winning now and beyond. Lock up the team's top player. I like this one.
I love
it. The Mariners are fun. If they can get Merrifield and extend Haniger, it's very unlikely, but if they can do that, wow.
Haniger is an absolute stud. And injuries, I think injuries kind of made people forget about how good of a baseball player he is. But I'm 100% on board with them giving a contract extension to Mitch Haniger. And I know a lot of people are like, well, the future of the Mariners outfield is Kelenic in right, Kyle Lewis in left, and Julio Rodriguez in center, or whatever you want to do. Put those three wherever you want them. But what you can do, extend Haniger, you keep maybe Lewis and Kelenic. You have a guy that's been there before. He's been an all-star. He's proven it. You don't have three 22-year-olds trying to figure it out at the same time. And you can make a package with Julio Rodriguez, one of the top prospects in baseball, and maybe get a guy like Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
Move him to second base. That's what I'm saying. The possibilities for the Mariners are freaking endless, man. They could make this team a World Series contender in like 6 months.
They could, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do for sure.
Let's get to the final team of the day, the Texas Rangers. Figure out if you're going to extend or trade Joey Gallo. I feel like that one's really lazy. Like, duh. Figure out if you're going to trade or keep Joey Gallo. But Texas is definitely a seller this year. Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy more than likely gone. But the decision to trade or extend Joey Gallo will no doubt be at the forefront of the trade deadline for the Rangers. The longer the front office takes to make a decision, the less likely Texas gets any kind of package in return if he walks. Coming off of his second All-Star bid, there's no better time to deal Gallo for a package of prospects, especially coming from a club like the Padres or Blue Jays. Gallo's under control through 2022 and would be a notable addition to multiple contending teams, but John Daniels emphasized that the organization is not taking this decision lightly. Gallo has made it clear he wants to be in Texas, and an extension would indicate that the Rangers hope to return to playoff contention while he's still in his prime. I don't know. I like Gallo in Texas. But looking at that roster, looking at that farm system, I don't see how Texas is back to competing for World Series before Joey Gallo's in his 30s. I think you gotta go. I think you just gotta, bite the bullet. I think you gotta rip the Band-Aid off and trade him.
Yeah, they got this Texas team is not
You have
close.
Adolis Garcia. He's gonna be in his prime when you're good again. Not Gallo.
This Texas team is not close. The Gallo needs to be traded. Like you said, this is kind of a lazy one. We know Gallo is going to be traded. It's just a matter of when, and where. I know we talked about the Yankees, as one of the suitors for Gallo possibly, and Oakland as well.
We'll get to a team tomorrow. Another team I really think has a good shot at him is Milwaukee.
Yeah, but yeah, this is an interesting. I don't know what the mindset behind this one was. They're going to trade Gallo. It's just a matter of when and where. But this Texas team is not close to the playoffs, and like you said, you might as well just cutting your losses and shipping them out.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know that's going to be hard for Rangers fans to hear, but it makes you feel better. You have Adolis Garcia and you just drafted Jack Leiter. So, hey, you're trending up.
And Connor Piotto.
Hey, right. You have Connor Piotto, Raider gang alum. So there you go. 5 years from now, Texas Rangers opening day will be Jack Leiter pitching to Connor Piotto.
So excited.
There you go. We had an absolute. I mean, I had a blast. I guess I can't speak for both of us, but I had a blast on today's show. It's going to be really fun to talk MLB trade deadline all week. It's going to be really fun to talk college football, NFL. It's good. Selfish football fan me. It's good to know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back this year. Excited to watch him play. Might have to rewatch The Last Dance now just to get ready for the final year of Aaron Rodgers with the Packers. But yeah, today's show was fun. We're off to a good start this week. 2 really good shows back to back.
Yeah, and any chance to watch The Last Dance, I'm there. Yeah, yesterday's show was a lot of fun, and today's was awesome as well. Talking rumors all week long about the trade deadline is going to be fun, and then talking about what actually happens is going to be even more fun.
Absolutely. Tomorrow I'm hyped. Tomorrow we got another big show. This is going to be a big week. Deadline week's just always a blast, whether it's NBA, NFL, MLB. I mean, deadline week's always a blast. But tomorrow, college football. Tomorrow, we're going to do the National League teams for what we think they should do at the deadline. And tomorrow, we're also going to be giving our picks on where we think some of the stars are going to be. Where does Chris Bryant end up? Where's Max Scherzer end up? Where does Trevor Story end up? Stuff like that. So we're going to be giving those picks. And yeah, I was going to try and wait until Friday, but most of these guys are already going to have been traded by Friday. So I think it's best to do it tomorrow where our predictions are still semi-valid. So we'll do that tomorrow, but a ton of show to get into tomorrow. So I'm really excited. We'll see you back here from 1 to 3 on WWSU and YouTube. But Parker, any closing thoughts?
Good show today. Talking about baseball is always fun. And even more so, we spent 35 minutes talking about Wright State basketball. So it's exciting.
Sure is. Absolutely. And I mean, that tells you how excited we are for Raider basketball because we don't even know the schedule yet. We haven't even seen them take the court yet. And I mean, we talked about them for almost 40 minutes. So I'm just super excited. And I mean, I feel like I could talk about the Lady Raiders for 40 minutes as well. So with new coach Kerry Hoffman, I'm really excited to see what that team's doing. But I've heard nothing but good things so far. And I mean, that's just basketball. I mean, what we've heard with, Coach Slumker and the men's soccer team, Coach Ferguson and the women's soccer team, just got a huge transfer from Marshall today. Coach Matters, Coach O'Keefe, the volleyball team, defending champs, back-to-back ? I'd bet on it. So I'm not a betting man, but I wouldn't bet against Allie Matters in that roster.
Nope, not at all.
So a lot to get into. Raider Sports right around the corner. Like I said, 15 days away from the first Raider sporting event. So it's going to be an absolute blast. But we got to get off the air before Patrick sends me a text threatening my life. So until tomorrow, for Parker Testa back in Noblesville, I am Shea Neal saying so long. Keep it real. We will see you tomorrow.